so many of us hear of people having that moment when they're facing death. And it's the moment when they look back at their life and they often think about regret, wishing they would have done things differently when they had the chance to do it. And I was having that moment, but not because my life was coming to an end, but because the life that I had led was no longer possible for me. And so I was sitting there thinking, like, why didn't I take that chance? Why didn't I say yes to that opportunity? Why didn't I do that? Why didn't I just believe in myself? Because prior to that moment, now in retrospect, I see that I had really everything going for me.
Hi, Jessica. How are you?
Hi, I'm so good, Riley. How are you?
Good. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm super excited for our chat today.
Yeah, I'm really so happy to be here and honored that you asked me to come on to share my experience about Yes Apply. So thank you for having me.
Yeah, well, our experience, we had like a Friday morning cohort. It was great. Like I loved our cohort. You brought such beautiful energy to it, and I can't wait for you to share your experience.
Yeah, thank you.
So Jessica, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. So again, my name is Jessica West. I'm the podcast host of the Empower From Within podcast, which is a top 5% globally recognized podcast. I'm also an empowerment coach, certified mindset coach through Yes Supply, best-selling author. I have a empowerment company umbrella where everything goes under called Tresor House. And through this, I also facilitate in-person events within my local community, just all around the basis of empowerment. This really rings true to my life, especially after a near-death experience after a car accident, which really woke me up to the fact of just how powerful our mind is at shaping our life experience. And I really feel like it fueled me and put me on this path of really just helping others do the thing in their life because we just have this one life and we're all deserving of truly living the life that we love, right? Our yes life, our dream life. And so I really want to help people create that while we're here.
That is so powerful. Your story is so powerful. I get chills when you say it. So, okay, that is so amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. And like you said, you got certified through Yes Supply. Can you share your journey, your experience kind of going through the program?
Yeah, absolutely. So I had gotten some certifications and I had been in the personal development industry for a little bit before I came across Yes Supply. And so I had some other certifications, but what I really loved about Yes Supply is that it was actual tools that we would have been given. Like I know like there's a lot of the mindset material and it could just kind of all be in the mind, but I really loved like the somatics of it, really doing the techniques so that we're really working through everything, moving the energy, which I think is so important. And I feel like, again, being in the industry for so long, like I feel like it's something that has been lacking in the industry. So when I came across Yes Supply and saw that like, oh my gosh, this is it. They're actually teaching the things to do it to actually make sustainable change in your life. So that's when I really wanted to dive in and learn more about it. And then also have these incredible tools to be able to add, to my toolbox of the services that I offer to my clients.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Yeah, the actual tangible things that like you can
Mhm,
literally
mhm.
go and do and really like shift your subconscious, set yourself up for success is definitely huge.
Yeah. Yeah, it is for sure. And I've seen even like the transformation in clients as well. Like actually, the things that we work with through are sticking. Like they're getting it. You know what I mean? And I feel like and when you can really see that embodiment and see the difference even within your clients, like it's so incredible.
Oh, that is so huge. It is so amazing, like when the light bulbs go off for people and
Mhm.
like how empowering it is for you as a coach to be like, okay, I actually have tools that I know are effective. And I've watched, not only transform, I know like our impacts and, the things that we've gone through, but like other people's lives. It's so incredible to watch.
It is. Yeah, absolutely.
Going through the program, I know that, obviously you got to be a client as well as a practitioner in the way that the program's set up. Did you have any big like aha moments or shifts from the tools that you learned at any point?
You know what? I mean, I loved all of the tools. I had EFT was one of the ones that really made such a big impact on me. And EFT was something that I had been doing even prior to Yes Apply. So coming in and learning more about it and like how to really structure those, how to really work through the points. It's interesting because I had been doing EFT tapping for a few years, but I had never done the actual wrist point. For some reason, I always like just omitted it, right? And when I actually did it the first time, it was like my eyes were closed and my whole vision lit up indigo. Like that was my spot. I'm like, oh my God, like it made such a difference for me. So now I feel like even when I'm going about in my day to day, and if I'm feeling like, oh, like I feel something uncomfortable coming on, like I know that this is my spot to tap on. So I feel like that was such a huge takeaway to actually like go through it and really understand EFT and like what we're actually doing. That was huge. I had done some work with anchoring as well. Yeah, I had other practitioners kind of walk it through and do anchors for me. But again, learning how it's actually working, how to really do it. And now I take that and I've hosted retreats where I help participants do anchors. We actually created like scent anchors on these roll-ons for confidence. Like it's amazing. I use it
love
all of the
that.
time. So again, that was something so big to actually understand like, okay, what are we doing and how can I help others apply this to their life in more of like almost like the professional sense, because now I actually know like the ins and outs of it. And so there was just so many things. Parts integration really stuck with me as well, because oftentimes, I mean, and I feel like as creative entrepreneurs, this is what I hear so often too. Like, there's so many ideas. We get ideas coming in all the time. Like, there's just so many things we can do when we really acknowledge and realize that, oh my God, we're limitless. We could do anything. So, what do I choose now? And so I feel like doing parts integration was such a big thing for me because I'm always kind of toiled between like, oh, I really want to do this. Oh, but maybe I want to do this. And I'm like, okay, we're just going to do a parts integration. And when I first saw the video recording of doing it, I have to be honest, I was a little skeptical because I was like, okay, like your hands just move, really? But when I tried it, I'm still amazed. I'm like, oh my God, this is so fascinating. So I feel like that has been a big thing. I feel like honestly, I could just go on and on because there's so many things that it was just like, it was so, so interesting. And just so eye-opening to realize like the power that we truly do have within ourselves to be able to create the life that we want. It's really so incredible. So I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, no, that was perfect. That
Okay.
was beautiful. But like you said, there's so many different aspects of it, and getting to like really practice it and watch it shift in other people and watch it shift in yourself. Like it just creates this like depth to your knowledge. Like you're saying, like I completely understand it. I've experienced it, and now I can go and share it with people with like, obviously you have such a passion when you speak about it that it's like so contagious, that it's like, oh my gosh, of course. But like you said, to even start off like a little skeptical, which I think is totally normal, and then experience it and be like, oh my gosh, like this works, and just feel the integration of that is amazing. I know with my first parts integration, I like ugly cried. Like it was hugely energetic, like this massive shift. So definitely sometimes it can be just like so transformative.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I feel like, okay, now I'm going back to the original question that you asked into like, because we were both being the practitioner, but then we were also being like the coachee, right? Having it done. And I think that was so powerful the way that you guys set that up in Yes Apply, because then you are, you're on either end. So you can actually see like, okay, how is this really working? Because I feel like belief in yourself and what it is that you're offering makes all of the difference, right? Like if we were just given all these tools, great, we have the tools, we have the how-tos, we're going to go and do this to someone. But if we don't really believe in the impact of what it is that we're doing, that just brings everything down, right? Like our energy is not in it. We could be skeptical. We're like, I don't know, did you feel anything? But I feel like being able to be on the receiver end, now we know, like with conviction, that like this works and I can really help transform my client's life. And at that level of belief, when you bring that into your coaching practice, that really makes things move.
Yeah, the confidence and how much
Mhm.
like nicer it is even being a client when a coach comes in and they're just confident in what they're doing. They're like, this is a good technique for you. Let's give it a try, see how it feels. There's no hemming and hawing. It's like, let's do it. I felt the shifts. I've seen other people feel the shifts. Like it's such a different energy. Also, like being held in that way, in that like confidence and empowerment kind of aspects as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, I love that you bring that up because I feel like even before, like in my coaching, before Yes Supply and everything, I had a certain level of confidence, but then also again, when you don't really have the tools, so then I'd be communicating with my clients, be like, oh, well, like, what do you think? We could do this, or like we can do this. And like when you're working with a client who's kind of like, I just want to help. I don't know. Like you tell me what it is to do, right? But if you don't have that certainty, if you don't have like that experience or that knowledge to back you up and the tools in the toolbox, then you can kind of be like, well, I don't know. You know what I mean? Let me know which way you want to go. But here, like when you show up, like as a coach and be like, I think this will be really great for you. Like that's what the client wants too on the receiver end to be like, wow, this person has confidence in me. And even if I don't have total confidence in myself or in my ability to be able to shift this, I'm going to borrow their confidence because they look so sure of the transformation that I'm about to receive. And again, that makes all the difference.
Totally. And like people come and they're so, like you said, motivated to change. Oftentimes they want that. They're just looking for you to hold space, to give them a tool in order for them to like heal or transform themselves. And being able to be so confident in your techniques that then you can just see their limitless potential. You know that, you know, the transformation's there for them and exactly how to execute that. Like you said, you can be confident before, but it sometimes even takes it to a different level when you really feel that depth in your toolbox. And there's so many things to pull from that, you know, that you can appeal to such like a variety of people and learning styles, etc.
Yeah, absolutely. And I even feel like the information that we get in Yes Supply, it's not like the tools in the toolbox is huge, but it's also like the sensory acuity, how to really communicate with people. And I think that is so huge in the whole, you know, coaching container too, to really know that. And especially like even trauma informed to be able to, you know, even look at the eye pattern movements to know when it's time to I'm going to take a step back and like give more space to my client to answer. Or do I keep going and just giving more information? Like, I think it's so powerful too in making like that comfortable coaching space where the client feels comfortable about opening up and really sharing. And right, because when we're all built up and we're like nervous and all of that, where we can't really be open, then things aren't going to shift as well as they could when you have that relaxed and open and receptive kind of space. And I feel like yeah, even in addition to all of the tools that we also have like just the skills onto how to actually effectively coach someone, which is like invaluable. And it's also, you know, I'm going to say it's translatable in a coaching practice, but also just in life. Like having those communication skills is huge.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Things like you're saying, like sensory acuity, rapport, even aspects of like meta model questioning can be
Mhm.
applied in your daily life. Like I feel like my communication level with people just leveled up when I started to like really deeply understand this material. And it just, yeah, allows you to navigate the world in a whole new way. And I think holding people in a space where they feel really seen, really heard, like safe to be open, like you're saying, is invaluable. Like that in itself can just be so healing.
Yeah, absolutely. Like it's incredible because ever since like the Yes Supply, even the guests that I have on my podcast, like pretty much after every podcast episode, the guest is always like, oh my gosh, like thank you for offering this space. You ask so many great questions. This is incredible. Like it's just so interesting when you really start to, you know, apply some of these things or and not even through conscious awareness, you know, like you have this kind of new way of being and you put it into your conversations. And I feel like you know, I've noticed it on the podcast with guests that I have, but then also, like you're saying, like in my personal life and just the level of like growth in all of my relationships, like being able to see like the ripple effect that it actually has when you're just when you have again kind of like that new kind of concept of communication.
Oh my gosh. Okay. I love that you brought it back around to your podcast because honestly, I never even thought about it even on that layer, but like how deep you can go with people,
Mm.
even just in a podcast, like even outside of just like the coaching arena, how much that must affect your like working life in relation to your podcast.
Absolutely. Honestly, I feel like it's almost like it's become like a practice of like practicing my intuitive abilities or something. Like, especially when I have people who have been on, 150 to 200 podcast episodes and I ask a question and they're like, Jessica, no one has ever asked me that question before. It's just like, oh my God, like it's incredible.
I love that feeling when someone's like, oh, that's a great question. Let me think about that. I'm always like,
Yeah.
like so thoughtful in my questioning. But yeah, it becomes, like you said, almost intuitive. You just create so much space, I find.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I love that. That is so cool. Um, so I would love, do you have any like advice or thoughts for anybody that's kind of like on the fence or thinking about joining the Yes Supply method? What made you say yes and invest?
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to tie back into my story a little bit here because I feel like that's kind of like the highlight that leads me through everything in life. And so, after the near death experience, I had the moment in the hospital bed. I spent a month and a half in the hospital recovering after that. And I just told them my life was going to look a lot differently before, than it did before. I was going to be dependent for the rest of my life. I would never return to work, never return back to school, all of those things. And so I had a moment in the hospital that I feel like so many of us hear of people having that moment when they're facing death. And it's the moment when they look back at their life and they often think about regret, wishing they would have done things differently when they had the chance to do it. And I was having that moment, but not because my life was coming to an end, but because the life that I had led was no longer possible for me. And so I was sitting there thinking, like, why didn't I take that chance? Why didn't I say yes to that opportunity? Why didn't I do that? Why didn't I just believe in myself? Because prior to that moment, now in retrospect, I see that I had really everything going for me, but I got caught up in my own head and I didn't take the chance. And now here I am just having all of these regrets. Anyways, those regrets ended up fueling me. It became kind of like my mission to continue moving forward when I actually recognized the power that our thoughts hold in shaping our life experience. Because now I actually did have the physical limitations, right? Whereas prior I didn't. And so I decided that, okay, I'm not going to put so much emphasis on these thoughts in my head anymore. And so that's really what fuels me forward. And so I would say that, like, if you're thinking about Yes Supply, just do it. Just do it. Like, no regrets, honestly. Like, life is too short. And if you are thinking about this, if you are feeling pulled into this direction, if you feel like you can see how it's going to elevate your coaching practice, or if you already have a coaching practice, or maybe you're a new coach and you're like, oh, is this the way to go? This is the way to go. And if you're feeling it, or if you think that you're going to turn away from this today and maybe think about it tomorrow, maybe if you don't take the chance, you're going to regret it, it's not worth it. Just go for it. Honestly, you really have nothing to lose and so much to gain from it. And as Riley and I were just talking about, it helps you in your coaching practice, but also in your day-to-day life. It'll also help nourish and flourish your relationships with, your family, your community, like everybody. And then you get that sense of empowerment within yourself. So I would say just go for it if you're feeling called towards it, because let's not get to that end and have that long list of regrets.
That is so powerful. I feel like tying everything back to your story, and like it just feels like you're so in tune with like your aliveness. I love that, and making all of those decisions from like, I'm so grateful to be here and like, what can I do with this life? And that is so powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. It's this idea. I mean, kind of my motto is like, I'm here for the experience. And when you recognize that this is an experience and you have free reins over it. So like, what do you want to create? Like, this is amazing. I had done a solo episode on the podcast just yesterday, and I was thinking, because I had this thought, fall in my head one day, and it was like, what if this lifetime was like a vacation for our otherwise infinite existence? Like, imagine that, when we go on vacation and we know we're going to come back home, like, we're going to relish in every moment that we can in that vacation. And like, so what if we were going to use this life as that too, and be like, you can do anything. And like, what is it? What kind of grand vacation do you want to create for yourself? And you can do that.
And how like expansive and fun that is, like just
Mhm.
tying it to, like you're saying, that fun, that excitement. Oh my gosh, I love that. kind of like visual, almost like going on vacation, except like this is your life.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I think I even needed to hear that today. So that was really
I'm glad.
beautiful. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Um, Jessica, where can people find you kind of after this and follow along with your journey?
Yeah, so there's a few ways. So people could follow me on Instagram. It's at tresorhouse.ca. That's my company name. They can follow my podcast or tune in, subscribe to the podcast. It's Empower from Within. It's available on all podcast platforms. And I also have a Facebook community called Empower from Within, and it's a group of creative, enlightened entrepreneurs who are all kind of encouraging each other. It's almost like a mastermind. I share a lot of the information that I have through podcasting because I really think any coach, any, online entrepreneur could benefit from having a podcast nowadays, especially like with the amount of, people on the internet and amount of services out there. It really helps you connect to your audience. So I share some of that information in the group too. We do weekly EFT sessions together. I'm always sharing like different like mindset practices. And so it's just a really great community. And I would say that's like, if you're really feeling like connecting, like that would be the best place. Like join me in there, and I'd be so excited to kind of hang out with you there.
Okay, I love that. That is so beautiful. Um, okay, that's really exciting. Any other kind of last thoughts or shares before we wrap up?
I don't think so. I think it's just honestly like kind of to go back to the beginning when I was saying that I've done a few different coaching programs. Like their Yes Supply was really so amazingly done. Honestly, I felt like nourished the entire time, and doing the cohorts and having like the people, kind of like the class to go to. I've never felt so motivated in a coaching program before. I've never felt so supported. And then again, actually equipped when it was over, like actually having something and I'm like, I'm set up. I know what I'm doing. I know exactly how to structure my programs now. And I feel like even, to go back at like the level of belief that we have. I remember I was listening to one of Reese's um, videos. I don't know if it was in Yes Dream Clients or if it was one of the bonuses within like our program. But she said like there are a lot of mindset coaches out there, but you are an expert in the subconscious mind. Like you have all of those tools, and that people really want that. And I think that kind of clicked things off for me. And I'm like, you're right. Like I am an expert. I am an expert in this. And that was huge. And so I feel like there's just so much of Yes Supply, and like what it's really bringing to the coaching industry is honestly just so beautiful and magical, because I know that people are really shifting through this information, and it's really so great to be a part of that movement, really. And it's like the elevation of consciousness, and I'm just like, it's just incredible. And so I would encourage anybody, again, like if you're thinking about it, if you're interested, like do more research, look into it, and then just do it if you're really feeling called to it.
I love that. That is so cool. Thank you so much, Jessica, for taking the time, sharing your experience, sharing your story, all of that. It was so impactful. I know that I needed to hear it today. So thank you so much for sharing and hanging out with me.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks, Jessica.